What's up, everyone? It's Brent from BC Does, bringing you folks hopefully another watchable video, and I got an exciting one, I think. So for us today, we're going to talk about what I feel, other than the 70s, was the best era in music, my generation of music, what will now become my classic rock, so to speak, the music that I always gravitate to, the music that when I'm reaching for a record or an album to play, I can't seem to get past those particular albums. And that's what we're going to talk about today. There's one in the background right here on my record display stand. Of course, that is Alice in Chains, self-titled, a classic, fantastic record from its time period. And what I've done today and what we're going to talk about what my opinions are on what makes this music great, why this music is timeless, the last generation, I think, of timeless music as far as rock and roll goes, unless we have a new a change and shift in the music that the new music that we hear today. But I just don't see it because the production isn't there. And that's mainly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the sonics of the music that was produced during this era and the great producers and other bands that these people went on to produce. And that's what we're going to get into. And this might be a little bit all over the place, but I think you'll agree and find this video enjoyable. Let me grab something real quick. As always, we're listening to music in the background. And this is another great band from, this was 2000s. So this is Fuel. I picked this up yesterday. It's their greatest hits album. It's a killer. If anybody remembers Fuel, they got this album. You can go get it now. It came out. This is their greatest hits. It's a fantastic record. We're going to get right into this. Bear with me. Now, I do want to preface this by saying I'm turning into a little bit of an audiophile. Now, I'm not crazy out there like everyone else, but when I listen to music, I want to hear all the nuance. I've heard all these albums so many times throughout the years, in the car and everything else, just rocking out and screaming along with the music, but never really cared back then when I was younger to pay attention to the work and the detail of the art that are these albums that went into them, to making these records and the people behind making these records. And as I get older, that is where my interest is lying. Stumbling upon channels like Rick Beato and watching his interviews with producers and musicians, getting into the nuts and bolts of what make these particular albums great. And we're going to get into a little bit of that today. One thing I do want to say is I do listen on a Yamaha receiver. I have a JVC turntable that I listen to. I'm also listening to my CDs on a Bose Wave radio. So I do have some pretty good equipment to listen to these records. Some of these records have been remastered from the original state that I listened to, which adds an extra bit of clarity to the albums I listen to. And crucially, I sit back, I got a Contour lounge behind me that you can't see, but if you see my shorts, maybe you've seen it. I got a Contour Chase lounge behind me. These are a set of one audio plug-in headphones. Fantastic headphones, man. These things are great. They're one audio. They're basically DJ headphones. It's hard to find good quality corded headphones anymore. One audio headphones, crystal clear. Love these headphones. So let me make a suggestion. If you love your music and you want to hear everything in the mix, get you a good receiver and a good record player, a quality set of headphones, and put that receiver on a 2-channel stereo mix, and you'll get to hear everything the album has to offer, all the secret hidden stuff inside. So that's enough rambling on. Let's get right into it. So first record we're going to talk about Smashing Pumpkins, Gish, and we could talk about Melancholy and Infinite Sadness or Siamese Dream. This is their first album, their best album in my opinion. It's on a cool vinyl. I'm not going to show you all the records, but I think I'll show you this one because it's so cool. This is their Splatter, purple and gray Splatter vinyl. Really like it. I have 2 copies of this. I bought this one just because of the splatter. Love this album. Love I Am One, Siva, Rhinoceros, all of it. Daydream, just Suffer. This whole album, it is a journey from start to finish. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's what we lose in music today. Back when I was buying records, you could buy a record like this, go home, put it in your tape deck or your CD player, whatever it was. And the whole album just took you on a journey. The whole thing. No filler, all killer, as they say. Of course, Gish was produced by Butch Vig, And you're going to see a theme with this. This was produced by Butch Vig as well as Siamese Dream, who's also the drummer in Garbage, who has produced records for bands like the Foo Fighters, obviously Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, just these huge albums that this guy has produced. So clearly he knows what he's doing. So when it comes to recording and mixing the record, Butch Vig has an ear for what sounds good. And he produced that album there. Next up is Alice in Chains' Dirt. We could have went Dirt, we could have went Sap, we could have went Facelift, we could have went self-titled. But we're going to go with Dirt if we're going to go with just the classic 90s sound here. And this album was produced by Dave Jordan, who also produced Offspring's X-Nay on the Hombre, Social Distortion, Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking. These huge records in and of themselves. Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking was platinum. X-Nay on the Hombre went platinum. And of course, this went platinum. And he had some other works, but I'm just noting some key albums of his. This album, again, sonically is fantastic. Jerry Cantrell also played a huge part in helping produce this album. There's no mistaking the sound that Alice in Chains wanted on these records, and Jerry Cantrell wanted on these records, and he got them. But with songs like Them Bones and Dirt and Rooster and Godsmack and Wood, all these great songs that makes this a timeless album, much like some of the Beatles records were, or Boston. You know, these are our timeless albums, my timeless albums. 10. An album that the band hated. They hated the reverb on the production on this record, so they went a different route. We're going to get in that into a minute, but I think this album sonically sounds great. There is a lot of stuff in the mix that's lost in the mix because of the reverb on this album, but this is another timeless classic album that we will always hear for the rest of time on radio. This album was produced by Rick Parashaw, who also produced Blind Melon, No Rain, that record, Temple of the Dog, Dinosaur Jr., Three Doors Down, and Bon Jovi. Those are some records that Rick Parashaw worked on. He passed away at the age of 50, 51 or something like that. Not sure how he passed away, but man, to me, it's the first song on this record once in the second half of this album, Oceans, Ports, Garden Deep, and Release, that really give this album its teeth. Sure, there were a lot of huge radio singles on this record, but those deep tracks are just amazing records, or amazing songs on this record, and love to sit back and listen to this with my headphones on. Rick Parashaw, he's the one that produced that record. Now we're going to get into a mega producer, in my opinion. This obviously is Pearl Jam. We're going to do 2 Pearl Jam albums because I think they're both quintessential 90s records. And we can go Vitology as well. But this is Pearl Jam versus, obviously, this was produced by Brendan O'Brien. Brendan O'Brien has produced, and I've only wrote down a couple, but Brendan O'Brien, let me see some albums he produced. He's produced everything from Kansas, The Black Crowes, Shake Your Money Maker, The Black Crowes, the second album. Both those albums were huge. Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Stone Temple Pilots, almost everything. Their first 3 records, Core and Purple, and all those albums, he produced those. He produced Super Unknown by Soundgarden, Rage Against the Machine, Evil Empire, and the list goes on and on and on. He still produces records for Pearl Jam. Matter of fact, let's see if I can find it here. This is Pearl Jam Lightning Bolt. This came out in like 2017, 2015, something like that. I can't quite remember, but he produced that. And that was a long time from this album. But man, this is one of those records when you put on the headphones, you can hear all of Mike McCready's. The mix is fantastic on this record. It's just fantastic. The panning and everything is fantastic. The drums are here. The vocals are in your face. It's very dry, which is a type of mix that Brendan O'Brien likes to have. He likes to have dry mixes. Pearl Jam wanted to get as far away from reverb as they could, and they really did so with the Versus album. You can hear, guitar going in this ear, a different guitar going with a whole completely different sound in this ear, organs and pump organs, and just all this incredible stuff that's in the mix that you can't just really hear if you're just listening to it on your phone or listening to it on a boombox or listening to it in your car. you really got to sit back and get those really quality headphones in, or a really good set of speakers in a quiet place, and just sit back and enjoy the record for what it is, because this record is a journey full of great songs. Glorified, White Male American, Rear View, it's just a fantastic song. Dissident, one of my favorite Pearl Jam songs. Love this album. Indifference, just a great record. Brendan O'Brien, look him up. Look at all the stuff he produced. And of course, we're not going to bring up all the other great albums from the 90s, like Helmet and Space Hog and Green Jelly and Sponge and Flyleaf and no, not Flyleaf. I'm sorry, excuse me. All the thrash albums that were still around back then. A lot of great albums from the 90s that I don't have here. This is Bush Razor Blade Suitcase. We could have went 16 Stone, but for the purposes of this video, we went with Razor Blade Suitcase, which was produced by Steve Albini, who also produced Nirvana's In Utero and other records. So again, you see a theme. These are these producers that these bands want to have to get the sound. The sound on this album is crystal clear. The guitar tones on this album are fantastic. The mix is great. Who could forget Greedy Fly, Swallowed, Mouth. Nothing hurts like your mouth, mouth. Steve Albini produced this album. Another one that I love to sit back and listen to on the headphones. Our Lady Peace, Clumsy. We could have went Navid on this, or Happiness Is Not a Fish You Can Catch, or Healthy and Paranoid Times. These albums all came out in the 90s or right around there. This was produced by Arnold Lanai, who also produced albums for bands like Simple Plan and Finger 11 and King's X. Just a great record, a timeless album. Songs like 4 a.m., Superman's Dead, Big Dumb Rocket, Automatic Flowers. I mean, just great. Got to see these guys live this year in Orlando. Really enjoyed that. This particular copy that I have here is limited to 500. Not necessarily an album. This is just more of a guilty pleasure record for me. Kind of out of the loop from the other albums as far as the mix and everything else that's in this record. Not the best produced album, I would say, compared to albums that Brendan O'Brien and Butch Vig and Dave Jordan have produced. But still a classic. When you think about the 90s, you think about this record here. The Blue Album by Weezer. Let me flip my page here. Bear with me. Wrote down a lot of information for this video here today. The Blue Album by Weezer with Buddy Holly, Sweater Song, My Name is Jonas, Say It Ain't So. Great record. Just a great debut album from a great band. Ironically enough, this album here was produced by Rick Ocasek, which was the front man. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ocasek, maybe Rick Ocasek, was the front man of the Cars. So if he knows, the Cars had some great music. So, he knows great music. Just a killer production on this record. Rick is the guy that helped forge Weezer's punk rock pop sound that they have. Quintessential album from the 90s. You gotta have it. Will be classic rock for us all one day. Oh, excuse me. Creed, Human Clay. Would have loved to throw My Own Prison on this list. My Own Prison wasn't produced very well. It was done on a very low budget on Wind Up Records, but still my favorite Creed album by far, My Own Prison. But Human Clay, the numbers do not lie. This album has sold so many copies. Creed was just like this, man, on a rocket ship before Scott Stapp decided to burn it all down to the ground. This was produced by John Kurzweg, who also produced people like Jewel and Puddle of Mud and many, many more. So just a great sound on this record. Mark Tremonti's guitar tones are incredible. Scott Stapp's vocals are incredible. Would love to get a deep dive with John and find out what kind of vocal miking he used for Scott Stapp and what the how he got the guitar sounds from Mark. I think Mark's guitar sounds come more from him, but the recording of his sounds, just fantastic. A fantastic quintessential 90s record. Counting Crows, August, and Everything After, obviously a quintessential 90s album. This was produced by T-Bone Burnett, who also produced bands like the Wallflowers. He's worked with Elton John. He's worked with Robert Plant, many, many other great musicians. The sound on this record is amazing. Just an amazing sounding album from Counting Crows here. Really heartfelt, lyrically, this record here. But most importantly, a great album to sit back with your headphones on and listen to. Great album. Soundgarden, Down with the Upside. Excuse me, I got something in my throat. I'm sorry. This was produced by Adam Kesper. He was a co-producer on this record. Soundgarden and Adam Kesper produced this. This guy had over 20 gold and platinum selling albums as a producer, producing bands like Queens of the Stone Age, Songs for the Deaf, Foo Fighters, Pop Evil, Pearl Jam, Riot Act, which was a breakaway from Brendan O'Brien for some weird reason. And obviously they went back to Brendan O'Brien. Sometimes I guess it's good to break away, try something new. Maybe you're like, I'm not comfortable with this. Let's get old Brendan back because he's so amazing. Chris Cornell's vocals. I bet they blew through a lot of mics making this record. His vocals are incredible on this record. Great, great album from the 90s. Pretty News, Blow Up the Outside, Burden in My Hand. Just great, great album. And last but not least, and kind of the reason why I'm doing this video. Oh, this is the wrong one, but we'll go with this one. I was going to do Reload. This is Load, obviously produced by Bob Rock, who's produced, the Black Album, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, great bands like that. But man, I just got the remastered album in the box set. I just got the Reload box set, and I was listening to that thing last night. I mean, listen, they call me crazy. I even put peroxide in my ears to clean out my ears really clean. I wanted my ears clean. I came out here. I put that record on the record player, put on the headphones, and what an incredible remastering they've done of the Reload album. So much stuff, so many overdubs, so much guitar sounds, so many different instruments that you can hear in the mix. The way it was mixed, the panning. There was a song where I'm listening to it. I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it was Slither. I want to say was the song where the mix, instead of it being here, 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 and here, it was like here and here, and then it shifted, and then it shifted again. Just an incredible job mixing that record by Bob Rock, and I think Randy Straub probably was the person that mixed that. He mixed a lot of their stuff there in that time period. But just a producer that probably, I'm sure, gave the band members a hard time. I'm sure Brendan O'Brien and Steve Albini and all these guys were not easy on these guys. The band's probably one is like, that's good enough. And you got this jerk in a chair saying, no, it's not good enough. We need more. This song needs this. That lead over here sucks. Your vocal needs to be better here. The drum sound is too poppy. We need to deafen it a little bit. Bring the bass up. All the things that you and I get to enjoy that we take for granted when we're listening to music that gets created. It is an art form. A common thread in all these albums that I showed you folks today, and like I said, we could have went through many, many more, but a common thread in these albums that I showed you today, the mixes are incredible. The production on these albums are incredible. The songwriting on these albums are all incredible. Notice I could have brought the Black Album out, 1991. They're all incredible. They're timeless. They meant something. And I wish I had more albums to show you more time in this video, but I don't. So leave a comment down below. Do you enjoy sitting back and really listening to the mixes of the records, trying to find the nuances, the things that you didn't hear the first time, or things that you didn't hear in the mix that you listened to the album a million times, but you never heard it before, but this time you heard it. And you're like, I wonder what they were thinking there. I wonder what that is. What instrument is that? A hurdy-gurdy, which is in Reload. but just incredible. Like, who thinks to bring Marianne Faithfull in on a song like The Memory Remains, or the way that something should pan from left to right or from top to bottom? People are making these decisions that make these albums sound great. I love them for it. I'm thankful for these great albums that I get to have on this physical media. And enjoy for a long time and pass down to my kids. And it will truly be classic rock by then. But don't, all these guys that produce this stuff, all that came from great sounding production records from the 70s. You know, the 70s started getting where production started getting really, really good. I mean, the Boston record keeps coming to mind, the Led Zeppelin records, the Beatles records. And then obviously through the 80s and into the 90s and the 2000s, the 2010s and beyond, we're getting a little crazy. And I think one thing that's getting missed is I can record an album here at my house. I can go buy all the equipment. I can get the software on my computer and record an album. And it's all going to sound the same. It's going to be a hook. There's not going to be any nuance. Everything's going to be crystal clean. There's no variance in the music. It's just blah. And I think that's why guys like me resort back to these albums so much. You do have some cool bands out there today, like Turnstile and some other bands that are out there, but most of the music I hear is just blah or meh. Because there's no one sitting there saying, hey man, not good enough. Not good enough. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. Comment down below, what are some of your favorite albums from the 90s? And we'll see you on the next one.